Stories never heard before. Walking into the light. Varun was born in a small town in Rajasthan, where the desert winds carried both silence and song. His earliest memories were not of colors or shapes, but of textures, the roughness of sandstone walls, the coolness of water drawn from clay pots, the warmth of his mother's hand, guiding him across uneven ground. By the age of 3, doctors confirmed what his parents had feared: Varun was blind. His world would never be painted with light. Yet, for Varun, the darkness was not empty. It was alive with sound, vibration, and scent. He could hear the difference between footsteps on stone, and footsteps on sand. He could smell the monsoon, before the first drop fell. But society did not see the richness of his world. Neighbors whispered, "Poor boy, his life will be small." Teachers doubted he could keep up. Even relatives suggested he should be sheltered, hidden from the demands of the outside world. Varun listened. And then, quietly, he decided, "I will not be hidden. I will walk into the world, even if I cannot see it." At 10 years old, Varun asked his father to let him walk alone, to the temple. The path was crowded, uneven, and filled with vendors shouting prices. His father hesitated. "What if you stumble? What if you get lost?" Varun replied, "If I stumble, I will rise. If I get lost, I will listen." That morning, with only his cane and his ears, Varun walked. He counted the rhythm of cowbells, followed the smell of incense, and traced the sound of the temple bell. He reached the steps, breathless but triumphant. The act was small in the eyes of others, but for Varun, it was a declaration. Blindness would not cage him. As he grew, Varun discovered that courage was not only about walking alone. It was about learning to translate the world into senses others ignored. He memorized the voices of his classmates, identifying them faster than sighted children could recognize faces. He learned to read Braille under dim lantern light, his fingers dancing across raised dots, like musicians across strings. He trained his ears to map spaces. Echoes told him the size of a room, silence told him when a door was closed. When his school organized a debate competition, Varun insisted on participating. His topic, blindness is not the absence of vision, but the presence of another kind of sight. He spoke with conviction, describing how he perceived the world, through vibrations, smells, and tones. The audience fell silent, then erupted in applause. Varun did not win first prize, but he won something greater: respect. At 17, Varun heard of a trek organized by a local youth group, to Mount Abu. His friends dismissed the idea. "It's dangerous. You can't climb a mountain without sight." But Varun's heart burned. "If I can walk through crowded streets, why not climb with guidance?" Convincing the organizers was another battle. They worried about liability, about slowing the group down. Varun countered, "Courage is not about being fearless. It is about walking despite fear. Let me prove it." Finally, they agreed. The trek was grueling. Rocks cut his hands, paths twisted unpredictably, and rain made the soil slippery. Yet Varun listened to every cue: the crunch of boots ahead, the whistle of wind through trees, the distant call of birds. He placed each step with care, leaning on his cane, and sometimes, on the shoulders of companions. At the summit, as dawn broke, others marveled at the view. Varun could not see the horizon. But he felt the vastness in the silence, in the way the air thinned, in the way his chest expanded. He whispered, "I cannot see the sun rise, but I can feel it inside me." After finishing school, Varun moved to a different city for college. The city was louder, harsher, and less forgiving. Rickshaws honked, strangers pushed past, and professors doubted his ability to keep pace with sighted students. Yet Varun adapted. He recorded lectures, memorized routes by sound, and used screen readers to study late into the night. His resilience became legendary among classmates. One day, a professor asked him, "Why do you work so hard? Isn't it exhausting?" Varun smiled. "Exhaustion is temporary. Courage is permanent." In his final year, Varun faced his greatest challenge. His college announced a cultural festival, and Varun proposed performing a solo play. The theme, The Journey of a Blind Soul. The committee hesitated. "Will the audience connect? Will you manage the stage?" Varun replied, "The stage is not about sight. It is about presence." On the night of the performance, the auditorium was packed. Varun walked onto the stage with only his cane. He spoke of his childhood, his temple walk, his mountain climb. He described the world of sound and scent, of courage and resilience. His voice rose and fell like music, carrying the audience into his darkness, darkness that was not empty but full of life. When he finished, silence hung heavy. Then, thunderous applause. Some wept. Some stood. Varun bowed, tears in his own eyes. After graduation, Varun chose not to pursue a conventional career. Instead, he founded a small organization, Drishti Without Eyes. Its mission was to train blind children in resilience, teaching them mobility, braille, and confidence. He traveled to villages, meeting families who hid their blind children out of shame. He told them, blindness is not a curse. It is a different way of living. He taught children to walk with canes, to read with fingers, to speak with courage. He showed them how to map their surroundings, how to trust their instincts. One boy, Rohan, once whispered, "I am afraid to walk alone." Varun placed a hand on his shoulder. "Fear is natural. Courage is walking with fear beside you." Within months, Rohan walked confidently to school. His parents cried with joy. Varun's work began to attract attention beyond India. An NGO in Europe invited him to share his methods. For the first time, Varun boarded a plane. The roar of the engines, the unfamiliar announcements, the press of strangers, it was overwhelming. Yet Varun steadied himself. "If I can climb a mountain, I can fly across the sky." In Paris, he spoke to educators about teaching blind children independence. He demonstrated how sound could map a classroom, how touch could replace sight in learning. His words, translated into French, moved the audience. A teacher approached him afterward. "You have given me new eyes," she said. Varun smiled. "I only gave you new ears." Drawn to sound, Varun began learning the guitar. His teacher doubted at first, but soon marveled at his ability to reproduce complex rhythms by memory alone. Music became another language of resilience. He organized small concerts where blind children performed, proving that art was not bound by vision. "We do not see the notes," Varun told the audience, "we feel them. And feeling is enough." When Varun applied for government grants, to expand Drishti Without Eyes, officials dismissed him. "You are too young. You lack credentials." Varun felt the sting of rejection. For days, he questioned himself. Was courage enough against bureaucracy? But then he remembered his temple walk at 10, his mountain climb at 17. He rose again. Credentials are paper. Courage is flesh. I will not stop. He turned to crowdfunding, telling his story online. Donations poured in from strangers across the world, moved by his vision. With this support, he expanded his organization to 3 states, training dozens of blind children each year. Varun's work also brought him into contact with elders, who had lived decades in silence, hidden by families ashamed of blindness. One elderly woman, Mira, had never left her courtyard in 70 years. Varun sat beside her, holding her hand. "The world is not closed to you," he said gently. "It is waiting." He taught her to walk with a cane, to listen to the rhythm of footsteps. The first time she stepped outside, Neighbors gasped. Mira smiled, I thought my life was over. But today, I begin again. Varun realized that resilience was not only for the young. It was for anyone willing to walk, with fear beside them. Years later, Varun was invited to the United Nations, to speak on disability rights. Standing before global leaders, he declared, "Blindness is not darkness. Darkness is the refusal to see beyond sight. Recovery is not about restoring eyes, but restoring dignity." His words were quoted in newspapers worldwide. Yet Varun remained humble. Applause fades, he told his students. But courage echoes. In quiet moments, Varun often sat alone, listening to the hum of the city. He reflected on his journey, not as a series of victories, but as a cycle of stumbling and rising. I did not recover from blindness, he thought. I recovered from doubt, from silence, from invisibility. He began writing a book, Walking into the Light, weaving his experiences into lessons for others. Each chapter carried a mantra. Fear is natural. Walk with it. Resilience is rising, not avoiding falls. Recovery is discovering what was always within. His words became a guide, not only for blind children, but for anyone facing hardship. Readers wrote to him from across the world, saying his story gave them strength to face their own struggles. Varun's organization grew into a movement. Blind children across India walked confidently to school, played games, performed music, and spoke on stages. Parents who once hid their children now celebrated them. Teachers who doubted now encouraged. He also began mentoring young leaders, teaching them that true leadership was not about authority, but about presence, patience, and resilience. Power, he told them, is not in commanding others. It is in walking with them, even when the path is uncertain. Varun never regained physical sight. But he did not need to. His courage lit paths for others. His resilience became a beacon. His recovery was not from blindness, but from the chains of limitation. And so, Varun's story reminds us. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to walk with it. Resilience is not about avoiding falls, but rising after each one. Recovery is not about returning to what was lost, but discovering what was always within. Varun walked into the light, not with his eyes, but with his soul. And through him, countless others also, found their own light. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories of resilience.